This is TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 5, Entombed.
I was right. This is a compass. One from long before our time. These coordinates are in the Kaldar Trinary System.
I have no record of that system.
Because the best treasures usually aren't found on maps.
There's treasure there?
Welcome back to TV Podcast Industries, fellow Batchers. We're talking about Episode 5 of Season 2 of The Bad Batch, Entombed. I am one of your hosts, John.
I am one of your hosts, Derek.
And rounding out this batches of baddies, I am Chris. I need to find a better one. I don't know yet. I'm still working. I'm feeling through this. I probably had a really good one in Season 1 and I just forget it.
Well, I might have to go through the episodes and find it, Chris.
Yeah, I know. It's homework. I was never good at homework.
Yes, we're back again with The Bad Batch.
You mean Indiana Jones?
Yes.
The Temple of, huh?
Yes, the Temple of... And what was that thing that came out of it at the end? Wow. It was like the tripods, or it was,
Day of the Chiff, not Day of the Chiff.
Yeah, War of the Worlds, exactly.
That's it.
Weirdly, as a gamer, what was in my head was Horizon Zero Dawn. Chris, I know you know that game pretty well.
God,
It was
like tall necks.
Those massive big tall neck mechs.
Yeah.
But we will talk about it as we get into the episode itself.
And I definitely got the Indiana Jones vibe as well in this episode, not the sort of the very subtle reference that Derek spotted in one of the earlier episodes, episode 2, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And weirdly, at the Television Critics Association, Jennifer Corbett, the showrunner, was saying that look for an upcoming episode that's a reference to the Goonies. So I think she thinks this episode is the Goonies episode because we have a full team of people involved rather than just Indiana Jones solving all the puzzles.
Well, that's true. Yeah, maybe.
The only bit is the pulling and the cable when they're trying to pull the team up.
Right.
And the fall. That is a scene from the Goonies, kinda.
There you go.
Where one of the, do you remember when Data has his little, grappling hook and they have to pull up for someone on the grappling hook? It's that.
Okay.
That's what I kind of got. Mm-hmm. But I was like, it's a blink and you'll miss it one.
Yeah, exactly.
It is, but I suppose we're doing an animation when you do a scene like that. That probably took about 3.5 months to do, so it probably stands out as a big moment when you're in animation, but it goes past in about 30 seconds.
That's true.
In the actual final product.
But before we get into our spoiler-filled discussion, remember, fellow Batchers, you can head over to our website at tvpodcastindustries.com to leave a voicemail, or you can send us feedback at tvpodcastindustries.com. You can also subscribe to any good or evil podcast player of your choice as well. Certainly if you have just found the podcast, please head on over, subscribe, leave a review, you name it, share the podcast as well.
Absolutely, because we're also covering The Last of Us at the moment, and weirdly, because of the timey-wimey way that we do this podcast, we haven't seen any episodes of The Last of Us right now, but when you're hearing this, we'll have watched about 3 of them, right?
About that.
Yeah, about that.
Isn't that exciting? to be in the future and not know what the show that we're about to cover is like, even though our wonderful listeners will have heard a few episodes of what we think about the show.
Yes, it is strange.
Please let us know if the alien overlords have taken us, and if they are true saviors or dictators. We must know.
Yes, but Derek, let us get into Season 2, Episode 5, Entombed. What are some of the episode details?
Well, executive producers for this show, once again, are Dave Filoni and Jennifer Corbett. The episode was written by Christopher Yost. This was his first episode of The Bad Batch, but we have discussed Christopher Yost quite a few times before, because he's done lots of Marvel animated shows, and he was also one of the writers on Thor: The Dark World, Thor: Ragnarok as well. In Star Wars, he wrote 5 episodes of Rebels, and an episode of the live-action Mandalorian, episode 6, The Prisoner.
Ah, interesting, yeah. I mean, in terms of the Thor stuff, that's pretty brutal. Dark World and Ragnarok.
Well, the way I would give him some praise on that is that if you remember, Thor: The Dark World and Ragnarok both went through quite a lot of problems, which means that there's about 6 credited writers on both of those movies as they tried to get them into some kind of format that people would enjoy.
So he was a fixer.
I think he's a fixer. Yes. Absolutely.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, and he has a lot of knowledge of the Marvel Universe, so he probably was going in and trying to fix things and make it connect in a bit more as well. But that's Christopher Yost. The episode was directed by Nathaniel Villanova. He did 6 episodes of season 1 of The Bad Batch, but this is his first episode of season 2. And once again, story editor for the show is Matt Miknovitz. But John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for The Bad Batch season 2 episode 5, Entombed?
Sure. After a trip to the junkyard for a spare compressor, Wrecker and Omega return to Ord Mantell with their findings. Pirate Phee Genoa is hanging around Sid's bar and has a great interest in one item that Omega has picked up. It seems to be a compass that points the way to the Kaldar Trinary System, which doesn't appear on any maps. Phee is convinced there will be treasure for those that make their way there, and convinces the Bad Batch to take her with them to the mysterious planet. When they arrive, they have to navigate their way through various puzzles to locate a great treasure. Phee believes it is the fabled heart of the mountain, but when they retrieve it, a millennia-old mech that rampages across the planet comes to life. Working together, the Bad Batch and Phee return the item to the device, stopping the destruction, but melting the valuable artifact. The team return to Ord Mantell alive, but empty-handed once again.
Will this poor team ever get a win? Will they ever make any money?
I know, exactly.
I don't think so. We're on the 5th episode now, and they've failed every mission so far, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
It is a bit like that.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to be the elite of the elite of clone troopers. Now, in fairness, clone troopers maybe are as good a shot as stormtroopers, but, nonetheless, they supposedly come from excellent warfare genetic stock. So
they do. But they weren't trained to go in these types of missions, I suppose. I think the only mission that they've been successful at is the Nerf Burgers delivery.
Nerf Nuggets.
Nerf Nuggets delivery. I think that's the only one they've been successful on. All the rest of them, they have not come back with the great riches. I wouldn't like to see their end of year review from Sid.
No.
Oh, well, look, you do know what this means. It's all building up to one big final score.
One big score.
One big score, or Sid effectively going, these guys are useless, and sells them out in order to get the money.
Maybe. I'm hoping for an Ocean's 11 style Bad Batch episode at the end
That
of the
would be
season.
very cool, actually.
And then we get 12 and 13 and then 8. That's how numbers work.
That's how numbers work.
Exactly. But let us get into our top blaster points for episode 5 of The Bad Batch. To begin with, blaster point number 1. We go on a Goonie adventure, or is it an Indiana Jones adventure, with Phee the Pirate.
So, before we even get into this, I was just thinking about it. Do you know what they could have done? They could have so easily connected one of the more questionable Indiana Jones films and the Star Wars universe via George Lucas with just literally by making this, changing the map into a skull. And you could have connected Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls to the Star Wars universe and made it, because they're interdimensional travelers. And it could have literally been, you could have made it off to find, because at the end, spoiler alert for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, the aliens go away and disappear back to their home world, dimension, or whatever. You could have done it. They could. They went back and they crashed. And then this was a map to them and to find the crashed whatever.
You could have done that, but I don't think anybody has any memory of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, so it would seem like a really unusual connection. What's that thing again?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was this movie that came out 15 years ago that nobody watched, even though they're excited for the actual next Indiana Jones movie coming out later this year. Nobody wants to see any connection or any reference to Crystal Skull, do they?
Okay.
I don't know.
But I like it.
Just
No, I like
me
it,
then.
Chris.
Just me.
Yeah. Or even just some kind of laser whip that Phee has.
That would have been
something,
cool. Yeah.
You know, just to give that flavour of Indiana Jones, I guess.
I kind of like how they kick off this adventure, though. I like that we basically have Omega and Wrecker going dumpster diving in the junkyard, because they seem really excited. It's as if they've done this particular trip quite a few times. They seem really excited to be going into a junkyard to see what they can find, and it turns out they find this map to this planet that doesn't appear on any charts. Like it's kind of a cool setup, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I think the whole adventure, you know, you hear Phee telling her stories about, you know, various different artifacts. I think she, like the Pearl of Novak, the Sword of something or other. There's the Chalice and Kingdom of the Elways that she brings in later on. So like, I kind of like this because it really reminded me of Filoni's sort of dive into, I guess, the more spiritual or maybe supernatural type of side of the Force from Rebels that he did there, you know, with the owl, that kind of spiritual owl in the, I guess the night sky. And this had that kind of vibe here, certainly with Phee telling us stories.
Yeah.
So I kind of really liked the setup here for that, because it was like, oh, we're going to get, you know, something more here. Certainly when we hear that, you know, once they travel to Kaldar, you know, both the system is mysterious because it's not on any of the space charts. It's got all these etchings, you know, there's the talk of them hugely ancient, thousands of years, you know, which immediately brings you back to sort of the old Republic or even further beyond. So really kind of coming to that point. So I was massively intrigued with this because I loved all that dipping into that stuff in Rebels. It really, mainly because it kind of, it feels right for things like the Jedi and the Sith rather than the whole metachlorian angle that George Lucas did. You know, it feels the spiritual, supernatural sort of, you know, pseudo-religious kind of thing makes more sense for the Jedi and the Sith, as opposed to you've got something or other.
You've got bacteria in your blood.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
you've got more bacteria than someone else. You're slightly more infected. So
I mean, really demystifying sort of the magic of it all, you know?
Yeah.
So I was really kind of pumped for this, for sure. So yeah, I really like the setup.
I love treasure hunting. I love these things, like
me too.
National Treasure. I know a lot of people hate that or do not like that Jerry Bruckheimer kind of duology and now trilogy with the TV show.
Well, let's be clear to our fellow batchers. Derek absolutely hates National Treasure.
Okay,
Both yourself and John have a very good experience with that and good memories of National Treasure. I don't know how long it's been since you've seen them. But,
recently, because I rewatched them all.
Okay.
Dare I say it as well, it's almost like The Mummy as well.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
I love The Mummy. Derek is kind of just does a massive
Derek
sigh.
just doesn't like fun. We've discovered this over many, many years.
I love well done fun. I love Indiana Jones. All three of the actual movies that were good. But when it's sub that level of adventure movie making, I probably will watch it once and never again. So yes, that's probably where National Treasure falls in for me. But I'm not the only person that matters here, of course. So so yes, if it feels like National Treasure here, then. Yeah, that's a good thing for you guys.
I meant more, I love these kind of treasure hunt films where you find a mysterious object. It leads to a mysterious island or place that isn't on a map, where there's a legend or a myth or a kind of, and you can, as John said, lean into that supernatural. And maybe it isn't supernatural. Maybe there is no supernatural element to it. Yeah. But it's, if you think of some of the Uncharted games, where sometimes it was kind of supernatural element. Other times it was myths and legends that built to become and like the ghosts were actual people that live there, and they're just really quick.
Just like Scooby-Doo, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was Wrecker all along in the mask.
Yeah, exactly. You've got puzzles and booby traps and stuff like that. You know, it's really getting into the Indiana Jones vibe or Goonies vibe, as we discussed earlier. So, loved this.
Absolutely. Well, two last things about the setup and the idea that's going on here. I think it's great that they brought Phee along here. Phee is a new character for this season, played by Wanda Sykes. I think it's really good that they have her involved here. Sid's much slower and older, I think, than Phee. So when she's along for an adventure, it's more, she's sitting back and having discussions with them, whereas Phee is a much more active character here. Yeah. So using her in this way, I thought was really good. I like the distrustful side of Hunter, where he's just looking at this pirate who's talking about her old adventures and just going, oh, she's making up those stories. You know, we've seen these types of characters all across Star Wars that exaggerate their adventures to make them sound much bigger than they are. But Fee's very useful here. She has lots of knowledge about these adventures, but tends to go on adventures, and if they don't pay off, hey, it was an adventure for the sake of an adventure.
Well, that's it. I kind of like that contrast between sort of the enthusiastic Phee, you know, ready to go on this treasure hunt, to go on this mission, and Omega as well, being really up for it because she found this compass. Whereas you kind of have Hunter huffing and puffing and sighing all the way through this, whether it was as she's telling the story, it's like, oh, is this the same story? You know, like she's embellishing it. Yeah. And then with the mission, he's like totally not sold on going on this mission. It's kind of a waste of time. They've obviously got to go far out into the outer reaches of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Who knows what might be there. But I mean, I love the state of the planet looked really Sithy in a sense, with it almost like it destroyed, which we probably get to see the reason for that later on. Yeah. But, it did have that vibe of, something evil lurks within, and, I kind of really enjoyed that whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I'll say is, this kind of connects back to the advice that was given to Omega earlier on in the season, where it's kind of, don't go after just the shiny objects, go after the fun and excitement of adventure, which we're kind of seeing Phee is bringing her along for this adventure that she wants her to have, and, placates her, as I say, even though they haven't found the treasure, there's more adventures to be had in the future. You know, it kind of ties back to that story that we're getting around Omega, where even though she's living with these clones who are on the run, she does need to have a bit of fun because she's a young kid. You know, there's a bit of that. And finally, my final thing about this is that I do think it's really interesting the planet doesn't appear in any maps, because as far as I know, the only a planet that we've seen of that is Kamino, right? That's the one that didn't appear in any maps before. So, and that's where all of the Bad Batch are from. So, I kind of like the connection that this is another planet that doesn't appear on any maps of the galaxy. Yeah, we probably have seen over the course of the 170 episodes of Clone Wars, there's probably been a few planets that didn't appear on maps, but that just stepped out of my mind.
Oh, because I was going to go the Outer Rims. A lot of that's undiscovered, and that's where my head goes to.
Right.
And it's where Palpatine is secretly living in the future. And
right. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's true, actually. I forget that Kamino used to be undiscovered, but then is very well known by the end of it.
Yeah, I think it's just because of that very oddly delivered librarian line when Obi-Wan Kenobi's looking for Kamino, and she just kind of goes, but it can't exist. It's not on any maps. Yeah. And you're going, well, obviously it can be removed from the maps.
Well, that's it. It's more that it was known. It's just been erased by Dooku or Sidious, however you want to describe him. So evil will try and erase things, I guess.
Yes.
But let us get on to Blaster Point 2. It is the heart of the mountain. Like we've already talked about Indiana Jones and the Goonies, I'm going to throw in another film franchise here, or dare I say it, book franchise as well. So this is where I thought they were going to introduce dwarves into the Star Wars universe, or at least their equivalent. So definitely got the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit vibe here in terms of certainly as well, just the heart of the mountain as well, with the, Arkenstone that we have from The Hobbit as well. It really,
that's the other name for it, is the heart of the mountain.
It really had that vibe here. And I kind of love the whole, as I said, the puzzles and the booby traps that we get here, having to figure it out. So yeah, I was thinking of another franchise as well at this moment.
Yeah. I know we mentioned last episode that it reminded us of Wipeout, and it kind of led to the idea that we could get a future game in the Star Wars franchise. This is it makes me really think of Tomb Raider and Uncharted, and having a Tomb Raider and Uncharted Star Wars Lego game with the Bad Batch at the center of it, I think would be also really cool. When they're figuring out those puzzles and realizing that the compass that Omega's carrying is able to solve each of the puzzles if she holds it in just the right way. I love that idea where they can't work it out instantly, but with a little work together as a group, they're able to work out how to solve the puzzles. I thought that was really good fun.
Yeah, and we have Hunter really not enjoying this mission. They almost died 3 times. They're separated. They've been attacked by a beast, which seems pretty tough to take down, like a rock beast almost, in some ways. So I kind of really like that. We also have Phee having I think her own nicknames for the Bad Batch, calling Hunter Bandana. Yeah. I don't think that's Sid's term for it, but maybe it is. I just can't remember now off the top of my head.
I'm surprised she isn't calling him Face Tat.
Well, maybe. But yeah, all the way through this, you've got the, just this skepticism and the sighing of Hunter, really sort of not enjoying it. They shouldn't be there. This is putting them at risk, and Phee and Omega kind of bouncing along to get to the heart of the mountain,
enjoying the adventure.
Yeah. For me, it was the puzzles. The puzzles make it the drops, it's your thoroughfare standard kind of through a temple, kind of rubble ruin, and oh no, I stepped on a trap, and I had one question. Have we seen that monster before, or that type of monster before, or is that, because it looked kind of like in Attack of the Clones, do you remember in the Colosseum?
Yeah.
It looked like one of those ones.
It did, didn't it? It was similar, but the colour is definitely different, but it feels of Star Wars, but not specifically a beast that I recognised, I think.
If any of our fellow batchers or baddies I know, it's like, hey, yeah, that's a blah, 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 Gluzion. Just let us know, because I'm just out of morbid curiosity on this one. I'm like,
I don't think that's going to be the exact name, and if it is, I'm not sure how anybody would spell it, Chris.
Well, but I mean, I think that's it. It's like, it does look vaguely familiar, that beast, for sure. But yeah, it seemed massively difficult for the Bad Batch to take down. I think they were pretty lucky to come away unscathed from their encounters with that beast.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you say, Chris, hitting all the beats that you have in this type of story, the team getting separated and having to find a different way through. But I do like Fee's call out, though, when everything when the door gets blocked effectively. She's like, there's always another way out. So, don't worry about the only entrance being blocked for the way we got in. We'll always find another way out, because actually the other way out was only created by them taking the heart of the mountain, the stone, right?
Yeah. Which I think activates our Blaster Point 3 as well as a huge mech.
So essentially this was 100% the little things that we used to put on the battle droids that would kind of short circuit them. The heart of the thing was literally one of those. It was just kind of
a restraining bolt for a mech. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a massive restraining bolt. Which is weird.
Yeah, it is.
I thought it was kind of impressive, this huge thing rising up and rising out. I guess it was just like, I want to know more. Like, you can't just introduce this massive sort of mech that seemingly just starts lasering the surface of the planet, which must be the reason why the surface of this planet is looking pretty rough and desolate.
Yep.
But like, Yeah,
I kind of like the idea that everybody would have gotten together, created this, as we say, restraining bolt, stuck it on it and gone, right, that's it sorted for the moment. Let's build a mountain around it.
But then where are they, I guess? You know, if someone putting that stone there, or, you know, where are the people on this planet? So it was kind of interesting because, I mean, you know, we've referenced a lot of different shows and games in our discussion. This looked really familiar. I mean, not just in terms of whether it's the tripods or War of the Worlds, you know, this notion of, you know, stilted destroying machines, in sci-fi. It also reminded me of some of the design of the mechs in Mass Effect as well, in terms of the laser, and the head, it kind of looked a bigger version of some of those, as well. Yeah. But I kind of just wanted to know more. You know, that's the only thing here is, you know, they deal with the heart of the mountain and manage to get it back in to restrain this hugely destructive machine. But I wanted to know more about, you know, the etchings, this going back millennia with this tomb, you know, then this machine and what it is. Maybe they will come back to it within the season. Maybe it is important, but I just feel there needs to be a bit of connectivity here with the Bad Batch because, you know, mission of the week is grand for me. Don't mind that. But, you know, I think one of the great things that happened with Clone Wars, with Rebels, and I guess they did ease into it as well.
Yes, they did.
It's not like they started off like that. But they really expanded and built within the Star Wars world. And that's what made them so, like, utterly fantastic for me. And I'd love to just find out more about this. You know, if it's important enough for them to go off on this crazy mission, even if it is just about treasure hunting with Phee. Yeah. Give it some importance, even if it is just more widely with the Kaldar Trinary System, that something's going to happen out there. And I'm hoping that will happen. Okay. Because at the moment, this feels like suddenly it's like, right, big mech, starts destroying the planet, and ultimately they can't get this loot from this tomb because they need it to survive it, to protect the Marauder, which is about to be destroyed. Yeah. And
effectively the stone itself melts. So that was the big prize that they were there to collect, and it melts within this system or this mech. Yeah. So it's permanently shut down, but they can't take it away. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although then on the other side of this, I absolutely loved the comedy chops of Mel, the droid, stumbling out of the blaster, and then R.I.P. Mel. I was there going, oh yeah, he's managing to escape really slowly by sort of shuffling along out of this huge laser beam coming from the machine. And unfortunately, poor old Mel gets taken out, although all his data is back at the bar. Yeah. So hopefully Mel will be back, in spirit, if not in body.
Oh, I think Mel will be back in full body. I think that's kind of the joke with Phee, where she goes on these adventures all the time. Mel sometimes survives, sometimes doesn't, and she can just rebuild them when she gets back to Ord Mantell. So, I think that's a bit of the joke. But I do think this episode is much more about introducing Phee as the adventurous one. If you need someone to go to about, you know, mysterious, legends, then that's what Fee's character is going to be for them potentially in the future. But they do establish this story really well. I know what you mean, John. Yeah. They establish this idea of potentially something that had happened on this planet back in the Old Republic times, stories that we have heard within the Star Wars world, in the past. But because there's so much being thrown at you, and then it just ends and they finish the mission and they go off, home, you don't know whether there's going to be any real importance to it.
Probably not. It does feel quite abrupt in terms of big mech. They stop it. Mel gets taken out. They fly off.
Yeah.
Because we do know scrapping happens in this world, in the universe. So I was like, yeah, there's just a massive mech now you could literally kind of scrap for really cool parts from, because it looks good, which is a bit more shiny than what you guys have.
Yeah.
I'm with you on this. I was hoping, again, because of everything we've already mentioned, I was hoping for that Jedi connection. It's like an old Jedi, because also we're waiting for Jedi Survivor, the follow-up to Jedi Fallen Order, where you had Jedi temples, quite similar, with droids and kind of historical kind of like pieces that were made to protect the Jedi. Or Sith, kind of temples and the kind of, you had these traps and things like that. I was like, oh cool, we're gonna get some form of Old Republic or even older Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Kind of bit of lore. They find something, it's connected to Omega in that it kind of, like, it's a training manual or something, because we know she's sensitive. She's maybe not like, I think she's sensitive.
Right, you do, yeah.
I'm pretty positive.
And just to bring back the theory, our thoughts last season at least is that she's effectively the other Boba Fett. So Boba Fett was the Alpha and she's the Omega, the original clone with no augments made to her from Jango Fett. But Chris seems to think she's going to be picking up her lightsaber at some point in the future.
I do, because she's made some pretty out there shots and things like that. Now we know Crosshair's made some out there shots, but anyway, I think she's sensitive. We'll call it that, because she's got the midichlorians in her. Yeah.
Oh no,
anyway.
he's saying the M word, John.
I know.
But I was hoping for more of that kind of universe expanding. Like, they have to, I know they are very careful at the moment about how much they are expanding on the universe lore, on everything Jedi or Jedi related.
Yeah.
Because it is a sensitive subject in terms of the past and the future. And we do have, you have a lot of now non-legend stuff that is happening in the past that they have to be very careful about how they connect.
Yeah.
But I was hoping it was, the only thing I can think of is, as you said, this was about getting Phee in and finding, this may have whet her appetite in this treasure hunt bit. And later on in the season, we get a second temple hunt.
Maybe.
Or treasure hunt. And it's basically, now we're going into National Treasure 2, where there's even more treasure. And that's where you get a bit more, hey, do you remember that thing we found and we couldn't get it? Well, I delved its computer banks with Mel, and now we found another one, and I want to go get that, because now we know what's going to happen. And that type of thing.
I know they're off to Vaney looking for an ancient chalice as the next mission that they're going for, isn't it? Yeah. So I think there will be more missions in the future, and I do think the setup of Phee here was pretty good. So she is a very different character from Sid. Sid would be the person that gives the missions.
Sid shuffles.
Yeah. That Sid would be the person that gives the missions. She's the one that goes on the missions with them, or goes on the adventures with them. They're not as much missions, I suppose. So I kind of like that within the episode. Any other notes or points about the episode that you guys want to talk about?
No, nothing from me.
No, I think that's mostly it.
Yeah, so, final thoughts on Bad Batch, episode 5, Entombed. Chris?
I enjoyed it. It's a quick 20-something minute romp. It ends a bit too abruptly. Like, they had a lot of potential, and I think for whatever reason, left, right, up, down, they decided just to keep it with what it was. And it's fun. Like, again, some of the audience for this have not seen the Goonies, have not seen National Treasure, have not seen Indiana Jones. So, and this will be their first taste of a treasure hunt style thing. So, hey, like, give them that taste, and then bring them into some of these classics that is National Treasure and Indiana Jones and Goonies, and they can go from there.
Yes. Well, who'd have thought it? National Treasure, a classic. I'd be up there, to be honest, with classic.
Those are not in order of preference.
No, but who knows what that order is?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Derek, what are your final thoughts?
Overall, I really liked the episode. It was a fun diversion. It's a middling episode for the season. We've seen one really standout episode this season that was up to the heights of the Clone Wars, the last couple of seasons of the Clone Wars. We are still in season 2 of the Bad Batch. We're going on these weekly adventures, and this was a fun one, but there are so many other, stories, movies, games that have used this premise before, that it's difficult to have this as a standout episode, especially when there's nothing particularly connecting it to previous stories of the Bad Batch or future stories of the Bad Batch right now. Let's see if there's any other incorporation of it, whether we will see another adventure with Phee in the future. That would kind of change this in my mind, but I think it's a reasonably straightforward adventure episode for the characters and seeing them all together. So yeah, it was fine. It was enjoyable, and probably better than last week's episode for me. A little bit better. Last week was fun though. Last week had the Formula One fun to it, but this week an adventure story, pretty traditional adventure story too. How about yourself, John? What's your final thoughts on the Bad Batch 205 Entombed?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of pretty much echo what you guys have said. I'd give this 3.5 Chariots of Fire out of 5. I think it was really good setup. Loved the whole mission. It going into a temple, sort of harking to Old Republic and that Jedi Sith magic, I guess. And then it's just because it kind of finished pretty abruptly and a bit unexpectedly with a world-destroying mech coming out of the mountain. But so it was kind of a lot to take in, and it didn't really kind of explain it. But I think that's because it is really just having time with Phee here and her as a character within this world. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. 3.5 Chariots of Fire out of 5 for me.
Grant, good stuff.
Shall we get onto our feedback?
Absolutely. So we have some feedback in on episode 204 Faster of the Bad Batch. First up from Facebook, Victor Von Doom says, Jennifer Corbett, Dave Filoni and co continue to top themselves. Teo and the gangsters were really funny. Did I see a protocol droids racing? This episode would make a nice video game. Same sentiments as us, Victor. Love to see a video game of the riot racing.
And I think there were protocol droids
definitely.
as well.
Yeah. Definitely. Jamie Lawton actually added, noticed that the actors playing Teo and the gangster were Ben Schwartz, who's John Ralphio from Parks and Recreation, and Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters. We didn't pick up on Ernie Hudson, who plays the gangster in the episode.
No, I missed that one.
Yeah, I think because we didn't get enough time to watch the credits multiple times, I didn't catch Ernie Hudson in there. But that's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie. He also says he was reminded of the PC game X-Wing Alliance with the music in Sid's bar in the opening scene.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was waiting for that to get through.
Yeah. And also says he noticed about the protocol droids that there's a battle droid head on one of the protocol droids that we have there. Kind of a throwback to the Attack of the Clones arena scene with C-3PO as the droid head, battle droid head on his head.
Yeah,
Roger.
There you go. Very cool.
Indeed.
Good stuff. Thanks, Victor and Jamie.
Yeah, thanks, Victor. Thanks, Jamie. Russell Hooper says, hey, an F1 reference. Sweet. Sad to hear one of you guys might be a Hamilton fan. Schumacher, baby, he's the GOAT. Yes. Well, I'm a big Schumacher fan.
Yes,
that's, in fact, how I got into Formula One, was old Shuey, baby. And...
No, Shuey baby is no longer in Formula One.
Well, no, he's not. But I am also a Hamilton fan.
Yes.
I have to say. Yeah. I'm a Leclerc fan as well.
I think the discussion really in that episode was between whether we liked Verstappen or Hamilton. And Hamilton versus Verstappen, there's no contest. It is Hamilton all the way.
Yes.
Like there's nothing there from any of us. I think all of us are more Hamilton than Verstappen. Would that be right, Chris?
We would be, in terms of it's Hamilton all the way. If both of them have on a completely even footing, it would be Hamilton. But when we have Red Bull versus Mercedes in their current cars, we now know what that happens.
Yes, exactly.
Cars are not the...
And actually, I'm a massive Perez fan as well. I think Perez is great.
Okay.
In fact, in the Red Bull team, I'm a Perez fan.
We have derailed the F1 conversation once again. This is why we don't talk about it often, Russell.
We are railing the F1 conversation here.
I think it's gone a little off the rails. It's really, I dislike Max Verstappen as a driver. I don't like him as a person in Formula One. So pretty much anybody in the field above Max Verstappen. Unfortunately, he won the season last season. So anyway, but that's probably enough of Formula One. But good to have.
Well, I love Perez. I must say, Perez is great.
Perez is great.
Yes, just bringing it back onto F1.
Good stuff.
Of course.
Thanks so much, Russell, for the Formula One talk.
Yeah, thanks, Russell.
Yeah, thanks, Russell. We have one piece of final feedback from Dr. Bob Phillips, who had this to say. The fact that it was Tech and not Omega was the biggest surprise of the episode, with strong echoes of me trying to manage to play Mario Kart with kids and being eternally grateful for the rockets, which at least meant my last place was within touching distance. One more thing, Doctor. Dropped comment of Gangsta Hulk about Sid being untruthful gets me worried for all three parties. The broken-hearted giant, the to-be-betrayed batch, and the upcoming fall from heaven, which our scaly fixer is now being set upon. If the hosts were forced into a riot race, what would be the outcome? Ooh, I'd be first. I cheat. I'm not gonna lie. I'd be first because I cheat. It's winning at all costs. That is my motto.
No, you would be taking too long to back out of the pit wall.
hey, but once I'm out,
I'm thinking
okay.
Austin Powers level of 3-point turns here.
Hey, I've gotten better. I've gotten a lot of better.
See,
now I can put my foot on the pedal too much.
Excellent. I still think John, probably being the most experienced driver of us, means he comes in first. Chris, you're in second. And as I said, in my response to Dr. Bob, I would probably explode on the starting line. So that makes me in last place there. Unless my bicycle can keep up with
yours would be the party car.
Racers.
You would just be foot to the floor with the music blaring out, sort of going through the red lights.
Or just hitting a wall.
Because you're totally not concentrated on anything on the road. Like grannies being knocked over, bicycles becoming mascots.
I know spectators are in open season in riot racing, but I don't think they put grannies walking across the course. That sounds ridiculously dangerous.
Oh, no, I was thinking more Too Fast, Too Furious. It'd be like on the streets.
Okay. Riot racing on the streets of Dublin.
Because it's family.
Good stuff. Thanks so much for all the feedback for this episode. Great to hear from you. You can continue to email us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries if you have any thoughts about any of the episodes of any of the shows that we're covering.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for the feedback. Really good to get your racing thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, folks.
So thank you, fellow batchers, for joining us for this episode of The Bad Batch, Entombed. Great to have you on board as always.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we will be back with our chat of Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 6, Tribe, on February the 1st.
Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that one.
Definitely.
Yeah. What is the Tribe?
Mm-hmm.
Only time will tell.
Is it the Bad Batch? Are they the Tribe?
Well, we'll find out next
We
week.
will.
It's not luck to me.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you again next time.
Speak to you all again soon. Bye.
Yep, thanks so much, fellow batchers. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, keep watching, keep listening, and keep being bad.
Bye. Bye.